Sad Frosty was an underground rapper who, despite only making music for 3 years, was able to bring a lot of people together, including some of the content creators we know and love today. In this video, I'm going to go over the story of Sad Frosty. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Sam Hernandez, aka Sad Frosty, was born on March 4th, 1997 in Houston, Texas. Frosty wouldn't usually talk about his childhood, but he would say that when he was younger, he had a problem where he would move around a lot and constantly have anxiety. This would lead to him getting a prescription at the age of 13 years old of Xanax. The only problem is, when this prescription was canceled, Frosty would try to find it through other means at a very young age. This problem wouldn't come up until he was 16 years old because he started making money from buying, selling, and trading shoes, something he had a passion for. And with the money he gained from this, he would go to the streets and try to find Xanax, and on the way start indulging in many other drugs. For the next 2 years, he would start exploring more and more until he started using Xanax on a regular basis and washing it down with lean. At 18, he realized he had a problem and decided to go complete cold turkey, no alcohol, no tree, no pills, at the age of 19. Frosty would stay clean until 21 years old, which is also the same time he started getting into rap when he visited SRSL Studios in Missouri City, Houston. Although Frosty wasn't even supposed to rap on this day, he ended up just giving it a shot when he heard a beat he really enjoyed, and he threw the song on SoundCloud. This song would do numbers immediately, with his very first song popping off, called We Want All the Smoke.
We want all the smoke, and I'm smoking cantaloupe. Bad bitch, fuck the team, she gon' give me throat.
He would quickly follow this song up with another one called Block Boy, featuring Craig Zan and Burgerman. Burgerman was someone who helped Frosty get his name in the first place. He told Frosty just to go with Frosty, but he decided to just throw Sad in front of it off of a whim. Craig Zan would help him with reposts on a consistent basis, helping bring a lot of attention toward Frosty's music. In these early stages, Frosty would say he was inspired by Rich the Kid, Smoke Perp, and SpongeBob, which if you're trying to get anything out of SpongeBob, I'm assuming it's a personality thing or something, but there might just be nothing to it. Next would be ADHD Freestyle, which ended up doing tremendous numbers, partially due to a shout out from ImDontai.
Y'all have to know by now what the intro is, like the intro song and stuff like that. That intro song is by Sad Frosty, who has become a homie of mine, and it's his song ADHD Freestyle. And he just dropped a music video for it yesterday on Elevator.
Frosty would say that the shout out from ImDontai and the success of the song would really open his eyes to what the possibilities were with music, and he would take it much more seriously from this point on. He also realized that he had a style where he was a little more sincere, would talk about what he actually is like as a person, and wouldn't glorify anything, rather make light of his life. He said this, being a contrast to other artists who just like to talk about how good their life is and everything, would give him a good avenue for success, and he thought he was in a pretty advantageous position moving forward. In February of 2018, after releasing New York City Freestyle, he would fly to LA to see what life was like over there and have multiple studio sessions dedicated to grinding music. In these sessions, he would end up meeting Mike G, and when he ended up flying back to Houston, he just had this feeling that LA would have a lot more opportunities for him, and how well he meshed with both LA and Mike G, he had to move out there for him to succeed. Now, just to throw this out there, I'm not sure if this was when he first flew to LA or when he actually moved out there, but at some point he would forget an obviously fake chain at Mike G's studio, and the person going in after him was DC the Don. DC would pick up this fake chain, make a bunch of posts with it, and they would find their way to Sad Frosty, who thought the posts were absolutely hilarious. From this point, they would DM back and forth before releasing their very first song together. In September of 2018, Frosty would team up with Astro Kid for the first time on a song called Vitamin D, and then a few months later, he would release ADHD Freestyle 2, which was produced by Mike G. Frosty had moved to LA, and he had established 2 producers that he was very comfortable working with, and it felt as though he had hit a groove at this time. In January of 2019, Frosty would team up with Soulja Boy for the song Sad Soulja Frosty. Now, I don't think the song was really very good, but it was notable because in multiple interviews he would say that he had a dream of working with Soulja Boy, and in 2019 this would become true. In May 2019, Quadeco would end up meeting Frosty when he was invited to a studio session with Frosty. They had DM'd multiple times in the past before this, but this was the first time that he had actually been invited to an in-person studio session, and Mike G was going to be there. Quadeca would describe himself as really excited and would try to play it cool by immediately asking for the beat, writing down as much as he could so he had stuff to freestyle to when he first got there, and hoping that this freestyle would really impress both Mike G and Frosty. Within the first hour of the studio session, they would end up recording the song Wrld. Things were heating up for Frosty because in October of the very same year, he would end up releasing his most popular track up until this point, called Swerve, and there would be someone that you might recognize in the music video. Looking back on this video, Dante would end up talking about how fun it was to record with Frosty, how there were a bunch of ridiculous scenes, and they threw in some things that they thought were just funny and things of that nature. With that being said, a month later, Frosty was on to working with Quadeca on a video where they would try to make a random person go viral. They walked into a McDonald's, and one of the employees recognized Frosty. Frosty wasn't really meant to rap or even appear in the music video for this video, but he decided since the guy was a fan, he would go out of his way and he would do it.
So we made it.
That kid recognized you. That guy recognized you. Pointed, you said that's Frosty. We have to get him. Let's get him.
I rap too. Someone.
Okay, you know what? If you come right now, I'll cover 2 weeks worth of pay. I got $600 I can give you right now. No worries. And he was like, I'm coming. All right, the manager was not happy at all. He's not mad.
Everybody in this video, I need y'all to go follow my man.
Yeah,
we don't even know his IG yet, but go run his shit up.
I did contact Yes Drew and ask him to share his story, and this is what he had to say about Sad Frosty.
He texted me out of nowhere. I think I was at my house, and he texted me out of nowhere, and he was like, yo, what are you doing? Like, you got talent. And I was just like, oh, I just got out of work, bro. You know, I told him, I'm like, I haven't been to the studio because I don't have, like, you know, either time or I didn't have the money to buy studio time, make music videos. And he was like, bro, cut that shit out. No excuses. Bro, if you really want to make it, you gotta find a way. You gotta find a way, if I'm being honest. You can't make excuses, you know, and that's one thing that he didn't have to text me. He didn't have to check up on me. He didn't have to always, you know, remind me or reassure me that I'm doing good. It's just, you gotta work hard for what you want. And that's just me being real.
Quadeca would mention that Frosty not only really cared about what his fans thought, but he would also get kind of crushed when his songs didn't perform well, which is the case for many artists. Unfortunately, I don't think the year after this was very big for him, all the way until December when he released the song called Ice Cream. This song would become the intro for ImDontai's videos.
They tell me when I make it, they gon' hate it, do no tripping. In my comments, hoes be sipping from the H, we keep it pippin'.
Just a few months later, in March, he would end up releasing Beavis and Butthead, which was the song that he made with DC the Don that seemed to get the most traction and get the most people to really solidify the friend group in their minds.
I'm in a scatty, I'm switching them lanes. XD with them up on set long range. Never gonna shot me, I spray with no way.
Just to throw it out there, people would describe Frosty as a really genuine person who wasn't fully worried about the music. He would cut studio sessions short to hang out with his friends and hang out with the rappers he was working with, and it seemed like he was worried about more of a connection than just working together. This is a really stark contrast to the entire rest of the industry, where there's a lot of people who are described as disingenuous and only care about their own streams. They're competitive, they don't want to be in a song where someone does better, anything like that. This just wasn't the case with Frosty, and it seemed like that was something that resonated with almost everybody he talked to. In December of 2021, Frosty would end up meeting a content creator that he had been DMing for a little bit named One Track. One Track would appear at this concert that was hosted by Intensified Charts, also had Quadeca, DC the Don, and a few other people. But anyway, One Track would get the chance to actually meet Frosty after having a lot of nice DMs in the past. Right away, he thought it was a bit weird. He thought Frosty was kind of a little dismissive and kind of ignored him, but I'll let him take over the story of when he ended up seeing Frosty backstage.
Pull up to the show, I get to go backstage, and I see Frosty, like one of the first people I see is Frosty. So I walk up and I just like try and get myself within his eye shot, like within, you know, his vision. So I pull up and I'm like, yo, he's like, oh, yo, bro, da 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 da. And I was like, yo, like, what's up, bro? He's like, he started showing me that love that, like, you know, he was showing me on text before. He's like, bro, like, your shit is so good. Like, I see something special in you, da-da-da-da-da, whatever. And I was like, bro, I appreciate that to the fullest. Like, thank you, for real. Like, I've really been watching you do this since I was, like, young. So, like, this means a lot coming from you.
After this, One Track would say that Frosty had actually planned to have him part of his team and helping him with kind of the rollouts of some of the music, helping hype it up a little bit. This would lead all the way up until January 13th, where at 1 a.m., One Track got a call from Frosty, who was very excited about a release that he had planned. He had made a music video and recorded a song with none other than Chief Keef, and he had multiple interviews where he would talk about how much he wanted to work with Chief Keef. What he was really excited about is he wanted to work with One Track to have a lot of these compilations of him talking about how he wanted to work with Chief Keef, talking about how he wanted to work with Chief Keef, and then they would just show the actual music video to hype it up a bit. There's no doubt that for whatever reason, Sad Frosty really was excited to work with Chief Keef, and this was something that meant a lot to him. As I said at the beginning of the story, this was January 13th, meaning that on the day he passed, January 14th, Frosty seemed to be in very good spirits and very excited about the future. He had just secured a dream collab with an artist that he really wanted to work with for a while now, and he had a whole plan on how he was going to roll it out. Unfortunately, he would not live to see the rollout for it, and after his posthumous album was released, a few months later, the track called Gengar, featuring Chief Keef, would be released. That was the second dream of Sad Frosty. His second dream collab, Chief Keef, would end up being released, and this is the song.
No more fake tape, my shit bust down. Astro Boy just hit me here, LA is a touchdown. Flex on the teachers, tell me I can't do it again. I done been in jail 1,000 times and I'll do it again.
Real quick before I end the video, I do want to touch on a topic that ImDontai hinted at, that when Sad Frosty passed away, that wasn't really the end of Sad Frosty in the world. Sad Frosty had brought a lot of people together. He brought together everyone who made this video. He had helped Quadeca make a ton of connections that he still has to this day. He would be a permanent fixture of ImDontai when he had an intro that is solidified now. Dante said he won't change it. So he had that. He had the big impact on Dante. Based on what Quadeca said, Frosty was known for having a lot of personal conversations with people, and he would talk about how people think and things of that nature. Thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who was in this video for contributing. All the proceeds for this video are going to go to a charity that helps with some type of drug rehabilitation, and I hope you guys enjoyed.